Okay, how am I feeling about the draft? Let's talk about that. Is it really a Kris vlog if I don't talk about imposter syndrome? Writing this romance it's pushing me. It's pushing me a little bit. I just am wondering if maybe I should make the slow burn even slower.
Pull up in a big body, I'ma hop out with a 10 on me. I got brand new Getty range on me. 45 might put some wings on them.
Hello. Welcome back to my channel. So this vlog is going to cover week 2 and 3 of NaNo. Okay, this is like totally unrelated, but I was watching a YouTube video about like coffee and like just kind of like how it came into the mainstream and like why so many of us are so addicted to it. And it's like, oh, it all goes back to capitalism and how we overwork ourselves and literally need a stimulant / drug to get us through the day. What did I want to say? What did I even want to say? Okay, actually, I should start with a draft update. I spent the first weekend of November trying to finish Act 2 of Project Night, which is the fantasy novel that I am drafting. And Saturday was a good writing day. Sunday was not so good of a writing day because the last couple chapters of Act 2 are hard to write. Like, there's just a lot going on. It came to a point where in the evening, I had been pretty much writing the entire day and I was just really wrung out. I realized that I was literally doing the thing that I said I wouldn't do, which is stressing out about word count. I think I had still unconsciously like set a pressure on myself to deliver on these tentative goals that I had set in the last vlog, and I don't think that it's a good idea for me to rush through some of these really pivotal sort of like turning point chapters. So yeah, all of that slow progress aside, I did break 50,000 words in the draft. I did also finish drafting a chapter that happens towards the end of Act 2 that I think is one of like my favorite chapters in the book so far. It was the first time in a long time that I sat down to write the chapter and I was just like, I felt like I was kind of like falling back in love with the story again. Oh, okay. Hello. We're back. It's 2 days later. A little bit of a draft update. I came to a realization yesterday. These chapters towards the end of Act 2 are turning out to be way longer than I thought they would be. I am now concerned about pacing because it has occurred to me that I might be squeezing in a little bit too much. Am I rushing towards my midpoint plot points? I don't know. I think that's something that I will have to re-examine when I start drafting draft 2. I'm not worrying too much about like evening out the chapter word counts yet because obviously draft 1 is a discovery process and I just can't be bothered right now, frankly. I had a good writing session yesterday. I think I wrote like almost 1,500 words. I didn't realize how much information I had to convey in these last few chapters, so I wasn't able to finish the entire chapter. I only wrote half of the chapter, but I think it's important for me to get all those ideas onto the page. Like I feel like I have to go through that discovery process if I want to figure out exactly how all the plot points are working in this book. Yeah, my prose is at a point where everything is just extremely unpolished, but I still like the general direction of the plot points. Like even if the actual prose is like kind of shitty, the general vibe of how I want things to play out, I still like it. So I think I'm going to eat an actual meal and not just another coffee. I am going to make a little bit of progress on this chapter. Basically, chapter 19 is pretty much like big hurdle that I have to get through. It's not the end of the world if I don't fully draft chapter 20 before starting Act 3, but I think chapter 19, I don't think I can get away with skipping it entirely because just so much information and stuff needs to get relayed / set up in that chapter, so I don't think it's gonna be good for me to skip it for the sake of trying to progress things faster. Okay, hi, how are we doing today? Good, I hope. I feel like I haven't written that much this week. I don't know if that's just like all in my head or if I actually haven't done anything this week. I went back to edit a previous chapter and I feel like I don't know if that's like a nano faux pas. I just like my editor brain kicked in when I went to go check something from a previous chapter. The good news though is that I have a day off tomorrow from work. I decided to take some personal time off right in the middle of November because I felt like I would need a day to kind of like catch up on my writing. It's taken me over 2 months to write Act 2, and again, I'm trying not to make myself feel bad about that. Every day is different motivation wise, but yeah. Wish me luck. Hope your week 2 is going better than mine, though. Oh, there's something else I wanted to chat about. I don't know if this is gonna be too much of like a serious topic for these vlogs, but whatever. I do think this is something that maybe like other BIPOC writers go through, especially those of us who write in genre fiction. Like there's just a lot of, I think, complicated feelings that surround specifically the writing experience of incorporating elements of your culture into a secondary world. Maybe just like even in general, like even if you're just writing like historical fiction or something like that. But I am in the process of reading Noli by Jose Rizal, which is like the most popular, it's like a classic staple of Filipino literature. Reading through it has been an incredibly emotional experience for me. I couldn't really find the words to describe why it was so emotional, and then I realized it was because I simply had never engaged with Filipino culture in this way. I've never engaged with Filipino culture in literature in general, but something about reading Noli in particular was like just kind of like extracted a very visceral feeling in me. Channeling that feeling into my writing has been very emotional and very difficult in both like a positive and negative way. I think also like on the topic of own voices, I feel like I still have a lot of insecurities about incorporating Filipino mythology and folklore into my writing because there's this constant like internal battle with myself between wanting to not be tied down with my world building while also feeling like I have to do my cultural identity justice because I want it to be somewhat representative or relatable to other people who share my cultural identity, which is of course like a near impossible standard to hold yourself to. Being second generation, like born and raised in Canada, my relationship with my cultural identity is a very specific blend of Western culture and Filipino culture as it's filtered through my parents. And I guess like just to talk about own voices in general, I don't know if I can say this. It's also informed by my like fears that I have about publishing as a business. I think that there are some experiences that people have had where it's like, does publishing only value own voices in a marketing way? Another caveat of writing own voices or of viewing own voices as a marketing tactic exclusively is the idea that BIPOC writers are perhaps only worth as much as their cultural identity or as much as they are able to represent their cultural identity in this like new, amazing, groundbreaking, never before seen way. And if another writer has already expressed that cultural identity within a similar genre, for example, and it's like, oh, too bad, like, you missed your chance. I know obviously like it isn't quite that black and white, but I still sometimes get this like sinking feeling in my gut that nothing I write will ever be like good enough unless I'm touching a piece of Filipino culture or history that, you know, no one has ever touched before, which is obviously like not true because everyone, like, there are no original ideas, etc., etc. But I just hope that, I guess, publishing can continue to look beyond the, I guess, like the surface level identities of writers. Obviously, I know like at the end of the day, I just have to focus on writing my freaking book. I know that, but also I have seen similar discussions about this. Kind of shook that we're already in week 3 of Nano. I feel like this is like insane. How are we feeling so far, guys? How are we feeling about week 3? I myself am surviving. Finally finished Act 2. Finishing Act 2 was a goal that I had set for myself like 2 weeks ago. I kind of made the executive decision to take my time with the last few chapters, and I think that it actually benefited me to do that, even though NaNoWrimo obviously prioritizes speed. I'm feeling, okay, how am I feeling about the draft? Let's talk about that. Having written another fantasy novel earlier this month, I feel like I'm kind of comparing my experiences right now, and I am definitely seeing some holes in Project Night, naturally, because it is a first draft. They're more related to world building and making the atmosphere more enriching, making the city that it's set in feel more lived in and believable. I think the magic system could use some work. I was actually reviewing my notes that I took on like the magic and the world and everything back when I was outlining this a few months ago, and I realized that a very small percentage of all of the like details and rules that I set for this magic system, a very small percentage of it is actually in the draft. And I do think that there is a lot more room for me to dig into the magic a little bit more. I imagine there are some plot holes, but they aren't as glaring. Very reassuring for me that I'm not having that issue so much with Project Night. I think I hit something like 57k last night. I think my plot points need some work for sure, but everything is logical. At least it feels logical. It doesn't feel as like ridiculous as it felt when I was drafting Project Moon, where I like realized that, oh, this story needs a complete overhaul. So that's kind of where I'm at with the draft. I also mentioned that I had a kind of like a vague secondary goal of working on some short fiction this month, and I actually did a little bit of that a few days ago now. I can't remember. I didn't work on the 2 short stories that I said I was gonna work on. I kind of like went back to a different short story, wrote like a couple more scenes for it because I kind of got this like strike of inspiration. It's actually a short story that I've been wanting to write for years. I'll probably talk about it more like if I make more progress on it, because like right now it's still very new. I haven't really thought too much about it. My short fiction, I definitely just like write based on vibe. Like I don't really think about plot too much. It's a little bit magical realism. It's a little bit about like spooky ghosts, small town. The setting for the short story is actually inspired by the small town where I studied for university. Basically, there was this like huge historical building that used to be active like 100 years ago or something, and it sits in this really small town next to my old university campus. And I used to like stare out the window at this like abandoned building like every day in class, and I was like, the amount of ghost stories that you could set in this freaking building is incredible. I've literally like had this idea in my head for years about like what kind of story I could put in this abandoned building. I really don't know yet. We're gonna have to write a little bit more before I like figure out exactly what I'm trying to do with it. Anyways, I'm excited to write Act 3. I actually started writing the first chapter last night. it's unlike all the other chapters. It's like a very quiet character first chapter where the two main characters are kind of like opening up to each other in the aftermath of something that happened at the end of Act 2. It's a very fun chapter to write, I think. Like, fun, not in the sense that there's like a lot going on, but that they're learning things about each other that they have like never shared with each other up until this point. So I think like for their relationship, it's going to be a turning point and definitely be an exercise in how to write emotion without melodrama. It might take me a while to write. I don't really know how it's gonna turn out. One thing I forgot to mention, actually, despite the fact that I did have a good writing day, or like, you know, I was able to hit a milestone in the draft, which was obviously great. I still had to drag myself out of some like pretty awful motivation slumps. I'm trying to make a positive, safe writing space on my channel, but also sometimes I don't like to like lie about how difficult writing is for me. I feel like there are a lot of us who do love writing, but also struggle with it. It definitely creates this sense of imposter syndrome. Is it really a Kris vlog if I don't talk about imposter syndrome? Like, whether or not you feel like it comes quote unquote easy to you, like, I don't think it should impact how you view yourself as a writer. And I feel like that's something that's even more important to talk about during nano season, when speed and progress and word count goals tend to be, you know, everyone's like super hyper aware of like quantifiable goals and quantifiable success and stuff like that. So anyways, yeah, that's my preachy moment for this video. Oh, last thing I wanted to say, I finally uploaded my discussion video on like fan fiction and fandom culture. Finally posted that video this week, which I was like happy about because I've been working on that for a really, really long time. I know it was like a departure from a lot of like my usual content, and I know that like the algorithm from, I guess for my channel, I don't know, tends to favor like these types of videos, like vlogs and stuff like that. YouTube analytics, the freaking devil for content creators, let me know that it was a very underperforming video. Obviously, it was like one of the most labor-intensive videos I've had to do, but I still had a lot of fun making it, and it was a super fun deep dive, I guess, into discussions of fandom, which I've always found really, really fascinating. It is obviously like bittersweet, I guess, as a content creator when there are videos that are interesting or fun for you to do as a creator, but it doesn't necessarily align perfectly with like what most of my channel has been about thus far. So it is kind of like a struggle, because I don't know if I can do another one of those types of videos again, because it's not something that like people necessarily want to watch. But we'll see. Maybe if another topic arises. It's tough. It's tough. Today is Wednesday and we're pretty much halfway through week 3. So my plan today was to like wake up a little bit before work and get some writing done, and I was just like way too tired. I was able to get in a good writing session yesterday. I actually live streamed with Kelly yesterday. It was so fun. So fun. Like, she's just the best. We streamed for like 2 hours and we did, I think, 3 sprints. It was actually super productive for me. I feel like sometimes when I'm writing alone, I have no one to hold me accountable. It's just been really cool. I think like being able to actually have had these opportunities to like connect with other writers, because back when I started this channel back in, I don't know when I started posting, I think it was like May, I never thought that I would actually have the chance to like really meet people, because legitimately, I feel like I've talked about this before, but like back when I started posting, I was treating it as something to look back on because I felt like writing was so solitary and I wanted to be able to document my process with all of my writing projects. And like even just knowing that there are people who like take the time to watch these videos, it's crazy. It's so crazy, like in a good way. And I'm really, really happy. I might consider hosting some sprints on my channel if people are interested. Maybe I'll do it sometime next year when the channel hits like 500 subscribers. I don't know how long that's gonna take. I didn't get too much writing done when I was actually on stream with Kelly. After I got off stream, I wrote a little bit more, and then I think I wrote a total of 1,000 words yesterday. So we are like approaching 60,000 words in this draft. It's crazy. I'm so excited to be this far in Project Night. It has definitely been a slow grind, but despite all of its ups and downs, I'm still really enjoying the drafting process for this book. I'm learning a lot. It's really motivating that I can see the way that I've improved from my previous book. I'm definitely going to be doing a NaNoWrimo reflection video, and then I'll also do a reflection video when I finish the first draft of Project Night. I also have been tinkering with the idea of doing like, it's not really a series, but just like a couple of videos talking about my writing process, how I actually organize my brainstorming notes, how I outline and set up my Scrivener for my novels. If that's something that you guys are interested in, I've been thinking about doing that kind of video. Anyways, I need to get some work done. I'm also going to edit this vlog. I've already started editing it. It's getting pretty long. The video's already at 19 minutes and we're not even done yet. This vlog has been like really chatty. Thank you for sticking around. So today is Thursday. It's kind of just like dawning on me that we only have like a week and a bit left of NaNo. So last night I finished the first chapter of Act 3. I mean, I hesitate to say that I like finished it. The chapter turned out to be way longer than I thought it was gonna be. And even though I like laid out all of my ideas and it's like, it's there, I feel like there are some details missing. It's not like done. I'm probably gonna fill in the gaps at the end of this draft, or maybe when NaNoWrimo is over. I'm kind of like in an interesting part of the draft because I feel like right now plot threads are kind of just starting to come together, and in a few chapters we'll basically be writing the rising action. It could either go really well or it could go really bad. When I was writing my last book, it went really bad in the sense that my plot threads did not come together the way that I wanted them to. Yeah, so I'm hoping that tonight and tomorrow night I will make some solid progress. I think if I write at least half of Act 3 before the end of the month, I will be happy with that. I think I'll actually be happy with that. Hello, we have made it to Friday. Yesterday, my writing session was a good writing session. I felt like I was back in this interesting flow state. I've basically been writing the start of Act 3. It felt like how it felt like when I was writing Act 1. Like I was just really locked in to the characters, pushing myself to think a little bit harder about my prose. So yeah, yesterday I was just decently happy with my motivation, with my creative state. I think it's just really satisfying to finally be able to evolve these characters a little bit more. And I think with a first draft, part of discovery writing is also learning who your characters are, because I think, of course, when you sit down to outline a book or when you sit down to brainstorm a book, you have an idea of who your characters are and what their story is, but you really don't know until you write it. And this draft has definitely been a process of listening to my characters and figuring out who they actually are and what story I'm really trying to tell with them. So my two characters for this book, their names are Anna and Felix. Anna, I think she's a little bit harder to pin down for me. Felix, I feel like, has a goal and he's just like, he's there to like get that shit done. Everything that he believes in, it's like very straightforward in my mind. I kind of know exactly which plot points I need to progress to get him where he needs to be. Anna, though, is harder because I think Anna, she changed a little bit when I got into writing the actual draft. I thought I knew, I had an idea of who I wanted Anna to be, someone who I thought would be a little bit more mean-spirited, but when I actually got into the draft, it didn't feel right to write her that way. She's not as feral as I thought she was gonna be. And I think the reason for that is because in Project Moon, my other fantasy book that I was writing earlier this year, the main character of, or one of the main characters of that book, she is kind of like feral and unhinged. I was still kind of like in my mindset with that character. And also just to like speak a little bit about one of the romantic subplots. I've mentioned this before, but my favorite way to write romance is like slow burn. When it comes to writing romance, I just have this like habit of always wanting to write less than more. How much subtlety is too subtle? We're over 60% of the way through the draft. So yeah, that's definitely a challenge right now, but it's an exciting challenge. Like when it comes to writing character relationships, whether it's romance or between family members, between friends, I always find it as one of the most exciting challenges because I've always been like a character first kind of writer. I think of stories based on not so much like the events of the plot, but based on where I want the characters to end up and how I want them to change. Writing this romance is it's pushing me a little bit. I'm also tinkering with the idea of making the romance, like dialing it back even more. I just am wondering if maybe I should make the slow burn even slower. How do I say this? Like, do I use a cooking analogy? Like, you know, when something starts simmering, like it's not boiling, but it's simmering and just starting to bubble, and I feel like a slow burn romance is kind of like when it's just bubbling but it's not boiling, but then eventually you need to like slowly turn up the heat so that it does start to boil. And I think where I struggle is like figuring out how to actually turn up the heat in a gradual way. But then it's also a question of, in the course of this one book, do I want to turn up the heat at all? Or do I want to keep it on the simmer? Anyways, I think I'm going to end the vlog here because it's Friday and this vlog is going to go up on Saturday. I hope that all of your writing projects are going well. If you want to support the channel, feel free to like this video and subscribe. I would love to know how your nano has gone. I mean, we're 3 weeks in. That is all I have for today. Thank you guys as always for hanging out with me on this vlog.